Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geek podcast. We're your hosts, Joel and Sebastian, and today we're going to be discussing some tips and tricks for maximizing EV range. Whether you're driving around town or making that cross-country trip, we have some tips to help get the most range out of your EV. Without further ado, let's get started. As EV owners, we always get questions about EV range and how to get the most out of it. It can be a little nerve-wracking driving with one eye on the road and another on your battery gauge, and nobody wants to wind up stranded on the side of the road. Most modern electric cars offer enough driving range from their large capacity, high voltage battery packs that you likely don't need to worry about squeezing the most range out. But still, there are occasions when it helps to make the most of each kilowatt hour. Maybe you forgot to plug in your EV to charge the night before and now have less range to work with. Today, we are going to give you our top 7 ways to maximize your EV's range, whether you're driving around town or on the highway. Joel, what is our first tip for EV drivers?
All right, so before we get started, Sebastian, how long have you owned an electric vehicle for?
A little over a year.
Have you ever ran out of charge?
No.
Okay, I've owned them for almost 3 years, and I have never run out of charge. So actually, I get that question a lot. Like, have you ever run out of charge? I'm like, no. Now, my cell phone, yes, that dies every day, but not my car. So yeah, we're going to start with the obvious. And this is for anyone who owns any car. You don't drive with a lead foot. It doesn't matter what type of car you drive. Acceleration uses energy, whether that be in the form of a battery or whether that be in the form of gas. The more you press down on that pedal, the more energy we'll use. It's simple physics. You can't get around it. When getting up to your cruising speed or to the speed limit, whether you're maybe driving on the highway or coming onto a road, you want to do it gently and accelerate gradually. We are all tempted in all EVs to kind of hit floor to the, kind of hit that accelerate to the floor to get that instant torque. But by doing that, that requires a lot of energy from your battery, just like it will require a lot of gas from your gas-powered car. Almost all EVs come with these power meters where you can see how much energy you are using. So just be mindful of how much energy you're using when you accelerate. I know for my car, I can put it in chill mode to where if I hit the accelerator real fast, it doesn't take off real fast. It also kind of helps save some of my tires too. You don't need to be the person holding up that line of traffic, but I've noticed when traveling on the interstate, even by cutting my drive down by 5 miles per hour off the freeway speed, perhaps instead of going 75, going 70. I know where we live here in Arkansas, most of the highway speed is 75 once you get out of the city. It'll cut down on your car's energy use significantly. I've witnessed this myself. I mean, it's funny how just that 5 mile per hour difference, it's like 70 is the magic number. From 70 to 75, how much that affects your energy your car uses.
Yeah, for sure. It's very noticeable for me as well, as someone who used to do the commute at 75 miles an hour every day, dropping down just that little bit. You see, I saw times where, I kid you not, I think it was half a kilowatt to 0.75 kilowatt more efficient. It was the difference between a 3.25 and 4, on some days. So it's legitimate, if the 70 miles an hour is good, really the ideal speed is like what I'm doing now for my commute, where it's like 55 miles an hour tops. That gets you the most efficiency, it seems.
Yeah. And we hear a lot of things like, what if you get stuck in traffic and you're in a long traffic line for like an hour and a half doing 10 miles per hour? Then I'm practically not using any energy doing that, so that I have enough energy to get me through that. So,
yep. All right. Our next tip is to plan ahead, especially for distance driving. There's a lot of apps that can help with this, such as ABRP or A Better Route Planner. And those are really good for planning long trips, as they help you find the best stops to charge along the way and let you know kind of how long to stop at each place. A Better Route Planner, you can go in when you make your account, you tell it what you drive. It'll ask you a couple little questions. And then from there, you just, like every other GPS app, you say, I'm starting here. I want to go here. I'm leaving the house at 100%. And then it goes through, it takes a couple minutes, or a couple seconds really, and then comes up and says, oh, if you want to go to Austin, Texas, you need to stop 4 times. Here's where to stop, and here's how long to stop at each one. It's really great. It's super helpful for kind of, figuring out what you want to do and getting ready before you actually leave out. As I kind of just mentioned, the night before a long trip, charge your car to 100%. The longest leg of your trip will always be the one right before your first stop. After that, you have to do your first charging stop. You're not going to want to sit around and wait for your car to charge to 100% again. So every stop after that is going to be a little shorter than the last one, just because, patience. So charge to 100%. A lot of people say don't charge to 100%, charge to 80%. That's good for daily use, but it is okay to charge to 100% every now and again. You're not going to hurt anything. And then finally,
I'm sorry, go on.
Sorry.
You go ahead.
And it may take less time to get to a given destination by driving on the highway, but you can maximize range by choosing a route that allows you to drive steadily at lower speeds. Maybe avoid areas known for heavy traffic, take it more easily. If your EV has a navigation system that can suggest energy efficient routes, use it. Your car knows best. Your car knows what'll help it, what helps it most.
So yeah, that is true. There was one time coming back from St. Louis. I think we were there a couple of months ago, and it had me navigate kind of off the road because it knew at that time there wasn't a lot of superchargers in the area. It kind of had me navigate off the freeway to go 55, 60 miles an hour, so I can make it to my charging destination. So yes, those are all great. The Better Route Planner is awesome. I like it. It's conservative, which is good. So you don't have to worry about, hey, I'm going to arrive with 0%. No, it usually gets you to your destination. Even the Tesla in-app navigation, it doesn't usually allow you to get somewhere below 10%. So that seems to be the threshold. If you charge up to your next stop, it's usually going to get you there with about 10%. And if you, like I said, if you cut back on how fast you're going, that can get up to 12, 13, 14%. So all those things are really good. Yep.
Yeah. And with a Better Route Planner too, if you're really into it and really nerdy with it, you can have it integrate with your vehicle. Even like, for example, a Better Route Planner is now owned by Rivian. So you can have it directly integrate to your Rivian and it will get live state of charge information. And it can then calibrate itself based on how you just drive normally. And there's ways to do that with even like Tesla or Rivian vehicles using OBD adapters and Bluetooth and all that, to where, you just drive around normally. The car figures out how you drive, what your efficiency usually is, and then uses that to give you better and better plans. So that maybe instead of it being super conservative, it says, oh, you're going to get there at 10%. You get there at 15%. And you think, oh, I could have, maybe charged for a short amount of time. It learns your driving habits and then will be more, spot on to kind of what you want. So
yeah, I use ABRP a lot. My wife's Kia EV6 does not have in-route navigation to superchargers, so we use that app when we're traveling, and it's very helpful. The next tip, if your car allows you to do it, to precondition your car in extreme climate. So I have a Tesla. I precondition my car every night. I have it set in the app that I want my car to be 72 degrees and 85% charge at 6:45 every morning. So when I get up and go to my garage at 6:45 every morning, it has an 85% charge, and it's ready to go. It's cooled, it's heated, no matter whatever it needs to be done, it's done, which works great because it's doing that while it's plugged in. So it's not pulling any energy from the car while it's doing it. Since it's plugged in charging, it's doing it. I don't have to worry about when it starts charging, when it stops charging. It just preconditioned itself. So yeah, in the winter or summer, when the temperatures swing into the respective extremes, it becomes important to precondition your battery. Also, that warms the battery up so it doesn't use a lot of electricity or a lot of power to warm your car up while you're driving. So if you're going out to the parking lot, even if you're at work and you're going out to the parking lot and it's 30 degrees outside, I always go to my app, hit precondition, so my car doesn't have to use that energy while I'm driving to charge itself up. Ideally, you'll precondition your battery in interior while plugged into the charger, like I stated, and that way you aren't using battery power to do this. So it's a great feature. A lot of people I talk to don't use it. I mean, they just get in their cars and go. And I actually tested in my car one time driving from my house to my kids' school, and without preconditioning, I used probably two or three more percentage of energy, without preconditioning. So it does work.
Yeah, preconditioning is important, especially when you think about it's not like a gas car, right? In a gas car, there's a lot of components moving around. There's a lot of friction to make heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, in an EV, you don't have near as much heat generating sources, so it's going to end up using an electric heater or a heat pump or something like that to then warm up the components. And so, yeah, if you can do that while you're plugged in, that way you're using wall power instead of battery power, that's always going to be best, right?
Yep.
And then same thing in the summer, when you kick that air conditioner on. It's not like a gas car. It's not spinning it's not, the engine's not spinning a pulley or whatever. It's an electric air conditioner, kind of like what you would have at your house. So it takes energy to do the air conditioning. And so if you can do it while you're plugged in, then you're not using your battery power, and it will use your air conditioning to cool the battery down because your battery is less efficient when it's super hot too. So yeah. Yep. All right. Utilize eco modes. If your car has an eco mode, use it. Usually those are pretty well tuned to get you the most efficient driving, sport mode, winter mode, whatever, track mode, whatever. They might be the fun ones to drive in, but they're not the ones that are going to give you good efficiency. So if you have eco mode, use it. Most EVs will default to the eco or chill mode, I believe is what Tesla calls it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's always good to check that before you head out.
Yeah, I'm actually, and 90% of the time while I'm driving, especially a long distance, I am in chill mode. There's no reason for me to be in standard mode. Most of my driving I do is on chill mode. Like I said, not only does it help me conserve energy, also help me conserve tires. So when I goose it from a red light or something, it's only going to go so fast and not, spin my tires or wear my tires out more than what it should. Yes, always use eco mode. If you want to go show it off, switch it to sport mode or winter mode. I've never actually used winter mode on any car, even gasoline power cars. I don't think I've ever used a winter mode.
We don't live somewhere that we really worry about it.
I mean, we get snow maybe 2 days a year, and if we do,
and
one
the
goes.
World shuts down when it happens.
And the world shuts down when that happens. It's just basically just stops turning for 2 days, so we don't have to worry about going anywhere. So yeah, we really don't need winter mode on our cars. All right, next up, you want to fine tune your climate control. So climate control, which is heating and cooling the cabin, uses more energy than all the other accessories combined. That's why we kind of mentioned preconditioning your car earlier. But it can also be, an area some drivers forget while trying to cut energy use. Some EVs now have a driver-only mode, like my car does, that directs cool or warm air only to the driver rather than trying to keep the entire cabin cool at the same temperature. I know in my Tesla, if I'm the only one in the car, the only vent that's working is the one right in front of me. I can feel over to the passenger side. There's no air coming out. I can reach to the back. There is no air coming out. So the only vent that has air coming out is the one that's blowing on me. One go-to EV trick is to use your heated steering wheel or your heated seats in cool temperatures. That is nice. Most EVs now come with these. I believe most come standard with heated and cooled seats. That's something that's usually found in most standard EVs. Most EVs have this option. If your hands and butt feel warmer, you do too. Remember that. If your hands and butt feel warmer, you do too. It also works great if you have a bad back too, as you get older, having heated seats on. There'll be times in the summertime I drive around with heated seats on because my back hurts. We recommend keeping the cabin temperature about 3 to 5 degrees above in the summer or below in the winter from where you would normally set it. And then either direct the air vents towards you or use those heaters. You may not even notice the difference. And like we stated, when you enter the car, it's already cooled or heated. This is especially important if you are charging at home and your car is still plugged in. That way, once again, you're not using energy from the EV to heat and cool before you enter. You're using the energy from your house. Also avoid riding with the windows down. This is something a lot of people don't know, that riding with the windows down can affect your EV range on an EV. It's nice to do, but doing this has a lot to do with the aerodynamics on your car. And actually does it with a gas-powered car too. You tend to see use more gas with the windows down. It's just not as aerodynamic, especially at higher speeds. That's because you get that drag that's placed on a vehicle. It takes more energy to run, especially at higher speeds. So you probably don't want to drive 70 miles an hour with the windows down on the freeway. You will know you will see your energy drop substantially.
Yeah, and it's also important to note, and this applies for every car, but use the recirc function on your heat and air as well.
Yep.
That way, instead of trying to heat the cold outside air, you're trying to heat the already warm inside air. The car has to work doesn't have to work as hard. So
and it's funny because a lot of cars don't default. I know my Tesla does not default to the recirculate. It defaults just to the air coming in. I have to recirculate, especially if I'm driving around some stinky gas powered cars and I can start smelling that air coming in. I have to hit the recirculate button. I don't know why. Even on my EV6, it doesn't default to recirculate. It's just a weird setting.
On the Bolt, it's just auto. The button is either auto recirc or you could just turn it on manually. There's not like an off. So I don't ever hit it. I assume it's recircing most of the time. I haven't noticed. So.
Yep, that is true.
Moving on, maximize regenerative braking. Unlike an internal combustion vehicle, EVs can recapture significant amounts of energy used to get them up to speed as they slow down. Regenerative braking, more colloquially known as Regen, can effectively turn the electric drive motors into generators, slowing the car as the wheels spin, and then returning that energy to the main driving. Most EVs allow you to adjust the Regen, with the strongest setting usually enabled with what we call one-pedal driving mode, affording little use of friction brakes in city and suburban driving. Most EVs also incorporate Regen into the brake pedal itself. This usually triggers Regen at the top of the pedal and then transitions to friction brakes after pushing past a certain point. So, one pedal driving is great. If you come to a stop, you just take your foot off the gas or off the accelerator. You don't do anything else. It just then crawls and slows. You can feel it pull. In my Bolt, I actually have a paddle on the left side of the steering wheel that I can pull to get more Regen as I pull it. in addition to being able to do the put it in low for the one pedal driving and then let off. So it's interesting anyway. But yeah, it is important to note there are situations where it is better to just cruise than it is to do regen. On the highway, you're more likely to get better efficiency if you just coast, right? If you're doing 70 something miles an hour and you're going, you start going down a hill, it can be more efficient to just let the car kind of gain speed as it goes down the hill, because you're going to, more than likely immediately go right back up the hill, right? So instead of trying to hold 70, hold 70, hold 70, and then burning it all off, you can kind of get, I'm doing 73, 74, and then that gives you kind of a little bit of a coast up the hill too. But that's really one of the only real times that regen maybe isn't the most efficient way of driving.
Yeah, I mean, all cars, all EVs have regen, and in the Tesla, mine is default. I mean, it's either, it's on all the time. The Tesla is a very easy one pedal drive. The EV6, it defaults to a level 3, and that's where we kind of keep it, because for some reason it doesn't hold the setting. So if I move it to one pedal driving with the paddles like you have, and I get out of the car and come back in, it's back to 3 again. It doesn't save it under my profile and things like that, which is fine. So we just keep it on 3. It's actually easier for that for my son who's learning to drive. So he doesn't get used to one pedal drive. But yes, regen around town, especially stop and go traffic. You'll see the little bars go up green and then back down where you're getting that regen. In fact, sometimes you'll see you have 70% and then you'll have hard regen. Boom, it pops back up to 71%. So really cool. Yeah, make sure if you have an EV, that setting is turned on. And finally, you want to check those tires. This is for every car owner. This one's for all vehicles. Sources suggest that over 25% of all vehicles on the road have improperly inflated tires. I can believe that. Having low tire pressure, which a lot of people like low tire pressure because their car rides better, increases energy consumption due to greater rolling resistance. Once again, we're getting back to that whole physics thing, and can lead to uneven or premature tread wear. Check to make sure your tires are at the manufacturer recommended pressure. This is usually on a label in our cars. When you open up the left-hand door, down the left there, and the little door jams can tell you what you should inflate your tires to. And I always do on my car too, even though it tells me to, I always keep a tire gauge in my glove box to remove any guesswork. When I suspect one or more of my tires may be low. I know it says it on the gauge clutcher, but if I'm traveling long distance, if we stop 2 or 3 times, I'll just pull it out real quick while we're stopped, check them real quick, make sure everything's okay, and things like that. But like I said, most cars will let you know if your tires are too low, or actually too high. When traveling long distance, just make sure you have those properly inflated, because that will get you the best range available. Yeah, so check those tires.
Yeah, for sure. And also tires are important too for on EVs especially. It's most EVs come with low rolling resistance tires, right? Kind of EV specific, energy saving, whatever tires. And
have the foam inside of them and things like that. Yeah.
Right. And so as your vehicle ages and you just go to replace tires, it's something to consider. Do you pay a little bit extra to get the EV tires that are going to get you more range, or do you accept the range hit for some cheaper tires? Now, there's not always going to be a range hit for moving away from the EV specific tires. That's where it gets important to do your research, whatever. For example, on my Bolt, when I replaced the tires, I did not put the OEM Michelin Energy Saver tires on it. I put some Pirelli something on it or another. I don't remember what it was. They were like half the price. I actually ended up not getting an efficiency hit from it, which I was super pleased with, but that's not always the case. So it's just important to note, especially if you buy a used EV, if you look at it and you notice, those tires aren't the OEM tires, that's not what it would have come with. Maybe that's why you're not getting as good of efficiency as you maybe have seen other owners get.
Yeah. If you look at your tire and it has a very aggressive tread on it, or it's a meaty tire, it has like a winter tire on it, you're probably not going to get the range that you want out of it. It's going to ride louder. I mean, when you have those, I mean, like that one Bolt that was for sale that we saw had those meaty tires on, it sounded like a truck driving down the road. These were like full-fledged winter tires you'd put on a small little Bolt, and it sounded like a big huge semi going down the road when you got in it.
Winter tires in the middle of September in Arkansas. Yep. That's
what
something we see a lot of.
That's what you need. Yep. So there you have it. Our top 7 ways to maximize your EV range. What do you think? Are there some other tips and tricks that's so hard for us to say? Tips and tricks. Are there some other tips and tricks that you have experienced that can help conserve EV energy when you are traveling? We would love to hear about them. Drop them in the comments below, and don't forget before you leave today to subscribe to our channel and hit that notification icon. Thank you all for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. So long, everyone.
See y'all.